Hello and welcome to this edition of the Citizens Chat Show here on Civic Space TV. My name is Judith Atim. I'm your moderator. Well, on this edition of the Citizens Chat Show, we're discussing the Kiteezi Landfill disaster which occurred on Saturday, leaving scores of citizens dead. What many Ugandans are asking is this: was there criminal negligence in this matter which could have led to such a deadly disaster? And who should be culpable for this? There are also lots of many other questions that we shall be discussing later. And for now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you my show panelists, starting with my extreme left, Major Retired Awich Pollar, who is the Director, External Services at the National Resistance Movement Party. Major, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm greeting the viewers.
Thank you. Also, we have the pleasure of having Mr. Francis Babu. He's a former MP, former minister, and a senior citizen. Mr. Babu, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, and good afternoon, good morning, wherever you might be. I hope you enjoy the show.
Thank you. Also, we have Dr. Sarah Bireete, Executive Director, Center for Constitutional Governance. Sarah, good to have you.
Thank you, and good afternoon, viewers.
Last but not least, Dr. Robert Ojambo, the head of the Faculty of History and Political Science at Kyambogo University. Robert, good to have you on the show.
It's my pleasure. Good afternoon.
Well, it is really sad what happened on Saturday, and this is still something that is developing. We are seeing the reports telling us more than 1,000 people have been affected. The death toll as of Tuesday evening was at 24, and the expectation is these numbers are going to go high. How high, we really cannot tell. 3 villages affected and so many other issues. Let me just start with, again, from my extreme left. Major, just your quick reactions and insights following this tragic event.
Thank you so much. But I would suggest, I would have a proposal. Near me is a senior person, both in NRM, and he has been a member of parliament for Kampala.
Okay.
So he's well-schooled and experienced in the matter of the city. This is a matter of garbage collection. It's a city matter. I would wish to pass to him. He will make a preamble comment, and I think his submission would, if not open all of us, but open me.
Thank you.
Honorable, I request that you go in first.
Thank you for actually that
That
suggestion.
is
That's
a
a brilliant
typical
one.
Awich.
Yeah, that's a brilliant suggestion. Yes.
Thank you very much. I don't think we should even worry who should start. This is a tragedy. What did you call it? You didn't call it a tragedy. You call it unfortunate. It's not. This is a tragedy. It's a shame. And I think even before we start this panel, and all Ugandans, we should apologize to the people of that area. We should be very, very concerned. And the people who lost their people, we should send them our condolences. It's very unfortunate. Somebody was asking whether it was criminal. It is. Bluntly, it is criminal. Because we know how we should have stopped it. Secondly, some of us have talked about this for years. Actually, it's a pity I could not find my manifesto when I stood for mayor. Actually, I had that in. How to recycle garbage, and how to make electricity out of garbage, and how to make bricklets out of garbage, and how to make biogas out of garbage, and how garbage actually can make money, including the plastics. Now, yesterday, I was reading, is it the Director General of NEMA? Is he Director General or is he big man?
Executive Director.
Executive Director of NEMA. He said something extremely, he was virtually saying, oh, but we could have done this, we could have done that. He is in charge of the environment, right? He is. And therefore, this game, the Ugandans have started for blaming each other, should stop. Here, we don't want a blame act. We don't want politicians to go and clean themselves. In fact, one of the MPs was virtually beaten and told to leave the area. Presidents are extremely annoyed. Now, as Uganda, actually, we should apologize to all Ugandans. All leaders It doesn't matter whether you're the president, whether you are a leader in the community. As leaders, including the church, including all other organizations, we should apologize to Ugandans for having mismanaged garbage. Basically, what people have never realized, and I'm going to say this to you, garbage management is bigger than local government. They even have a master's degree in it. What people don't know. Garbage management is so big and it's got so much money that people should wake up and realize we shouldn't have got to the stage where we got. I went to Connecticut where they have a garbage dump. It's as big as Nakivo Stadium. You know Nakivo Stadium? I don't know how big it is, but assuming you look at Nakivo Stadium, they would bring you the garbage during the day, and next morning the garbage would not be there because they would put it into the system. It would go for recycling the plastic. It will go into in producing biogas. It will go into producing bricklets. All sorts of things come out of garbage on the other side. So, as somebody said, in science, we change modes of organic materials. And when you do, you get something else. So, to me, I think it's much more than this. If City Council cannot take responsibility, the Ministry of Local Government should. If it doesn't, the can stops at the President. The President should apologize to this country. Not even City Council, because City Council is saying, oh, but you see, I saw the mayor there trying to pretend. The mayor is not a mayor. He's a political advocate. He wants to go to court all the time. I'm going to court. I don't know why he didn't say he was going to court because of the garbage. Because every time he opens his mouth, he's going to court. His road is from City Council to court, and I think his chambers are in City Council. So as far as I'm concerned, I am saying this openly to all of you, I am extremely disappointed in the management of our government, to an extent that they cannot manage garbage. If you can't manage garbage, how can you manage a nation? This is a capital city. You know what a capital city is? A capital city is the seat of government. It's the pride of a nation. Are you with me?
Yeah.
And when I heard the other day that Parliament is going to rotate, that is disgusting. Are you with me?
Yes.
This, we have a pride. It's a Parliament of Uganda. It's a pride. No country in the world. Have you ever had London rotate a Parliament? Have you had Washington, D.C. rotate Congress? Have you had India rotate Lok Sabha? This can only be done by people like us who are totally inefficient in management, who don't know what is going on. So anybody who takes that Parliament, as far as I'm concerned, when they come back, you should all resign and go home. So the problem is with the President now. He's the full chief executive. He must come out and show what he's worth. And on this one, some people should be given a ticket to go home. So as far as I'm concerned, may I again apologize to the people of Kiteezi who lost their loved ones, the people of the surrounding area of Kiteezi, the people of Kampala, the people of Uganda. Government should apologize. And we should stop the blame game. And I keep saying that we don't understand modern democracy. And people say I'm telling lies. We don't understand governing countries. But we do understand corruption. We are fantastic in it. In fact, we should get a gold medal since the Olympics is still going on.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable. Let me come to you, Sarah, then we get back to you, Major.
Yes, building on the rich preamble by Captain Babu, I think I agree with him that it's a tragedy and we should apologize, and I send condolences to the affected families. It's a big shame. It's a big scandal. Why do I call it a scandal? Anybody in leadership knew that Kiteezi, even in the rudimentary way of dumping garbage, had filled up and should have been decommissioned. First warning was in 2008. We have reports 2012, 2015 research from Makerere, a warning from NEMA 2020, and a warning 2 months ago by the KCCA Health Department when the garbage started giving way. The KCCA Public Health Department did issue an internal memo to the Executive Director and the Deputy, dated 2nd July 2024. And in that memo, they said they had seen cracks and waste movement. On 28th June, cracks and waste slides were observed northeast part of the landhill. Blocked drainage channel, consequently, that would lead to collapse, and depleted operational area, among others. They also wrote to the consequences documented. Waste slides or landfill collapse could result in loss of lives and property, litigation of costs, and other issues. The same institution failed to act. If they were overwhelmed, they should have sent a memo to Parliament to say, we have a pending crisis. Water has been running through that garbage for close to 2 months. People have been seeing slow movement of this garbage with full knowledge of the leadership in this country. If criminal negligence cannot be established at this point, then this country is a failed state. If you look at the history of garbage management in the country, from independence, there were no concrete plans of managing garbage in the country. Then when it became obvious that there is need for a national approach to managing garbage, the Wakaliga dumping site was introduced. When it filled up, there was samples of dumping in Olugogo and other areas, until when the first KCC, Kampala capital city, had no plans. The engineering department had no plans of managing garbage. But they realized that there is need to have a proper way of recycling, sorting, and managing garbage through a 3 RRR: recycle, reuse, and yes. So you have that program with the government over this period. Kiteezi investors who wanted to recycle garbage started discussions with government since 2012. Programs, all of them failed by the leadership. 2015, World Bank also advised, failed on how to deal with that pending catastrophe. The byproducts have been mentioned, and all countries do the same. Sometimes you wonder, when our government representatives travel, what do they ever see in other countries?
Shops.
And how come they can never copy anything good and bring it back home? Yet every time they are with friends for their families and chocolates.
Yeah, that's right.
Nothing to build the country. No benchmarking, no copying. You know, even in class, if you were so down, at least you befriend a bright chap and copy a few things. But this NRM government is even incapable of copying, assuming that they have no ideas of their own. So for me, that is a crisis of leadership. It's a crisis of governance in the country. And I agree that President Museveni, who is the chief executive officer of this country, takes the back of the blame. The buck stops with him. Whether now there are middle people he needs to blame, but if the KCC executive director and her deputy had any sense of shame or responsibility, they would have resigned by now. And the political leadership, because even after seeing this memo of the cracks beginning and the slow fill, the garbage, the landfill did not collapse at once. It has collapsed over 2 months. If they were seated with this knowledge, what are they still doing in office today? And how come they even never brought this knowledge out? until after the death of people. The people who identified Kiteezi and purchased it for land dumping made one big mistake, and which is common with the way even we manage wetlands and other protected areas. They should have fenced off Kiteezi land and marked it protected area for garbage dumping. Fence it, all of it. You have a landfill, it is touching on people's homes. You know, after the collapse, I have never, you know, traveled to that side. You are trying to see, but how close was this garbage to people? Even when it came down, even where it has not collapsed, it is close at people. Like, how can we do that? How? It has distorted the water, the catchment area. It has the health hazards of that area, even if it had not collapsed. What is the health status of the residents in that area? The way we manage wetlands, like Rubiji, the crisis we are dealing with, Rubiji, other slums, Kasoko, you know, Kampala is like a disaster area. It should be maybe declared a disaster. You have Kasoko, you have Rubiji, you have a wetland that is supposed to be protected. Why doesn't NEMA put signposts on protected wetlands? No trespass. You know, at different corners, so that whoever comes to that area knows that I have trespassed on NEMA protected area. You wait for 30 years, you cause a crisis, you evict families. How can somebody trespass on an area for 30 years? The land law provides trespass is a maximum of 12 years. If you fail to evict a person who has entered your land for 12 years, then you become a beneficiary of that land. You become a Chimanga owner on your land. 12 years, you must take action. But you have a government, 30 years, it cannot take action on a protected area. Then it creates a crisis of evicting hundreds of families. So it is a failed leadership that we are dealing with. It is a crisis of governance. It is a failure of President Museveni in this country that has caused unnecessary loss of lives, and he should take responsibility.
Thank you, Sarah. Let's hear from you, Robert.
Yeah, I also share, like my colleagues, send condolences to all the affected people. I think Kiteezi is just a small, picture of a big problem. This country, we have always been saying that in every system there is a disaster waiting. Kiteezi, in my view, is a problem that has been caused by 4 major things. 1, bad politics, which is in the country. 2, ignorance. 3, corruption. And the last one is indifference. Indifference among the population. People don't care about what is happening. If you look at how Kiteezi came to be, you have given the background. After seeing that Wakaliga was not tenable, people started running around. Well, how can we solve this problem from KCCA? Of course, to just give you a background, all the divisions had small dumping grounds where they were dumping. Wandegea was one of them, where we have now veterans. In Kamwacha there was another one. There have been so many. But after coming up with this idea, which is sold like a deal, in a boardroom, a deal, because, Sarah, I want to tell you, I have been listening to KCCA staff and people in government. They use 2 words concurrently, landfill and dumping site. And in most of the cases, they think that they are synonymous. They are not. I went down and looked at the 2. They are not the same. A dumping site is a smaller place than a landfill. And they were saying, this landfill, this dumping site. This landfill, this dumping site. So just look at how Kiteezi was procured. They first went and bought, I think, 29 acres. They went back, bought another 7. Went back, bought another 4. In fact, the last 4 are not in use right now. They are getting maram from there to fill this heap. They are not dumping there. But if somebody went and measured properly, if we get a land surveyor to go and measure that heap, is not in those acres of land, because in total, 29 plus 7 is 36. They're supposed to be 40. If you went and measured that area, it's not 40 acres. For those who know land, 40 acres is a huge piece of land. It's very huge. Cannot be that small thing which we are seeing there.
40 football playing.
40 football playing point. So you need to ask yourself, where did the land go to? Who took the land? And how did some of those people come to settle there? If you read reports and complaints and what have you, there are people who sold that land. In KCCA, they are known by all the authorities, but nobody is bothering with them. That is now corruption and doing deals. After that, you know every scientific thing.
You know this word corruption, we should stop using.
Okay, looting. Okay. Then too, every scientific process has a lifetime. Kiteezi has had a lifetime. It was supposed to end by 2015. 2015, that place should have been decommissioned and another place is found because it was a dumping site. It's not a landfill. It's a dumping site. So they were supposed to dump there from when it started to 2015, it stops. 2015, halabalus begin. And I said the people were ignorant. The corrupt used that ignorance to politic. So there was that confusion. And immediately another clever person came and said that, you know, now Kiteezi, we may not do much. Let's go and buy another piece of land. 4.3 billion shillings was released. They went to Dundu and bought over 130 acres of land. After buying, you are supposed to decommission this one and start dumping the other side. Then letters started flying. This one says you cannot just decommission. You need this process. You need this process. Hey, then let the process begin. It does not begin.
PPDA.
Yes, it does not begin. So deal men come and they start now traveling with the commission agents who are bringing people in government to do what you are talking about. To produce electricity. Some person comes with a person from China, another one comes with another one from Venezuela. They also bring some kapere from Kampala here and so on. So they disagree.
So the ones of Kampala kapere.
Why I'm calling them kapere, they may not have any idea.
Go ahead,
they may not have any idea because I must say that we have, it would be the first. It would be the first. So a Ugandan kapere, like the one who was making a COVID vaccine, comes up also and says he can also, and is taken to the president. Of course, there is a Chinese firm that later took up the thing seriously. And the arguments have been on if they are given the thing to produce electricity, how much should they pay? I mean, sell electricity. So they said they can produce 60 megawatts of electricity, which can be put on the national grid. But they wanted the 18 shillings per unit.
Instead of 5 cents.
The government says 5 cents is our maximum that we can give you. But they said they mentioned a few farms that are producing electricity here, where one of them is at that 18.
The thermal electricity is expensive.
Yes.
This one's running
yes, 18. So they argue, they say, okay, you give us 8. That group leaves, but I think they did not have even the ability. Now, recently, what even causes the problem, they brought another group of Chinese to try and distill that thing, to allow that filthy water to get out of that thing. And those are the ones who have put there some pipes and some mechanism that weakened the thing to now collapsing. Now, let me go to politicking. Kampala, we have been a very big, we have been at this service. There is a huge war between the so-called opposition and NRM. When the thing is brought by the Lord Mayor, that is politics. When it is brought by a technical person, they say, no. That technical person, I heard for the first time they were declaring that the person in KCCA in charge of health, who is in charge of public health, is a dentist. So I said, then why don't they chase him and recruit a person who, because dentists are supposed to work in the hospital to deal with the teeth.
Yeah, but at least he would use the teeth to bite, but they're not even biting.
So you'll find there is a very big problem. Even the technical people themselves are not there. Just like I was watching in Kenya, somebody who was supposed to be in charge of environment and what have you, had studied the religious studies. So I think even these ones are religious studies people. So you find the mayor, for him, in most cases, he pretends, and I must say this, that I've been in pain. I've been one of his supporters one time when I was still young. But the mayor pretends to be with the people, but in most cases does nothing to help the people. So he goes on a cry game. Then the government springs in when Captain was talking about, sir, there is a ministry in charge of Kampala.
Yes, I know.
But that ministry has never gotten a person who is supposed to be, who knows what to be a minister of an urban center is. I am not minimizing the ministers who are there, but I hear from what they say.
Why do you think I jumped her and I said local government?
Okay. So when I hear that person speak, I don't see any idea, has no idea. And I don't know whether in the ministry they have technocrats who know urban centers, who know how to deal with the local government, who know how to deal with the things. She's speaking and she looks like a mobilizer at his Chadondo 10 or any other political party. Is not speaking anything technical on technical issues that are affecting people. When you were discussing here,
But isn't that the court of cabinet, Morris?
Yeah, some like
Sarah,
when some
Sarah is asking.
when, like, for example, the Minister of Health is
Some
speaking.
information, doctor.
Yes.
When the Prime Minister went to address the survivors and residents of Kiteezi, did you see how she, the joking quotes she made?
No.
Saying that the land has come, then laughing. You are addressing people
No.
whose relatives are trapped in the landfill, and you are making a joke. She's the head of
Sarah,
cabinet.
Uganda does not have a prime minister.
Okay, I agree.
Sarah, Uganda has somebody in the office of the prime minister. But we don't have a prime minister. A prime minister, in its sense, is a leader of government business. So by the time that lady was going to Kiteezi, she should have gone to do something. She went like these Bakungu Bazi, these people who go to help. You have seen the rescue team since Saturday to date. They have not done even 30% of what they are supposed to do.
Most of them are Red Cross, by the way.
Yes, and that's where
They
I
are
was
like
coming.
at 10%.
Where have you ever seen a country? Where have you ever seen a country where they have told us that UPDF is now professional? UPDF has even an engineering brigade of Biekwaso. And I was checking that brigade. Major is going to help us and tell us what a brigade is. A brigade of one person, no machinery. They are now working on. In Kyambogo here. They are building a stadium. The engineering brigade called the NEC. They are building a stadium which is going to be a training facility. I went and peeped there. They are as local as people who build these local houses in Ntinda here. They don't have even a mixer. They mix with the hands. They are building engineering brigade. They don't have even a mixer. I expected that the engineering brigade should have taken there about
50
100
yeah.
graders to remove that thing in 30 minutes
And pick
so
out
that
the
people are out.
Yeah.
They are using Kitio, this Kitio, engineering brigade. And the engineering brigade is not even doing the real work. They are Red Cross, as he said. We have there a total of 7 graders. 4 of them have been given to us by some contractors, people who have been doing Chinese, who have been doing
But
contracts.
one of them
for
is
us.
stuck in the mud now.
It needs another thing to remove it.
So
You have in any country, in countries where we, and I thought Uganda we had reached there. Army should be the one helping. Army and police.
During emergency.
Army and police should be the ones there, and we
Rapid
have a
response.
special rapid response unit, and they should have removed all the people. We are totaling 22. Who tells you?
24.
Now 24. Now 24.
Tuesday.
But who tells you? Who tells you when you have just excavated 30% of the place where the thing is covered? So we don't have anything. We are here living by chance, I am telling you. We are living by chance. We doubt whether we have a government. So the only thing they tell us that the government is protecting you. It gives you law and order. That is okay. Even birds are there. They are in the air. So are we not better? Are they not better than us now? So for me, I think, as Captain Babu said as I end, that one, somebody must take responsibility. But you see, for somebody to take responsibility, you must have a population that demands. This population in Uganda is like nothing happened in Kiteezi. Nothing. They are just saying, Katonda yatuvudemu.
No. When they were chasing the MP, they actually could hear them talk.
Yeah,
They were demanding.
But people who normally, I was waiting for a demonstration so that I joined.
But
I have not seen any.
But the army that you are saying should rescue people. The job of the army now is to protect President Museveni in power. It is not to protect.
So the
Uganda.
army is now right now at Kiteezi, but making sure that people do not go to their houses.
To identify
and I
where
was
the
shocked
house
that
is.
a prime minister would even go on a national TV to tell people that they are telling people to move away from the disaster 200 meters. 200 meters is just a football pitch and another one.
2 of them.
2 of them. 2 football pitches. You cannot have people staying in such a thing, even a kilometer.
Thank you, Robert. Major, can we hear from you now?
Okay. First of all, I'd like to join my friends in the sending condolences to the families who have lost their loved ones, not only to the family, but to all Ugandans. It shouldn't have happened. It is unfortunate. It is a tragedy by any measure of standard. Even if we had lost 20 lives, that is a tragedy. It shouldn't have happened. So I feel so sorry about it, and I send my condolences. The other thing is that the bigger talk now spills to government and its responsibility. I just like to say that, you see, no news is good news. No news is good news. Therefore, if many good things happen, it wouldn't make news, but one would cause news. Therefore, the times that you don't have news, it actually means government is doing good things. Even as a person, I've always told my friends, don't crave for news, because the likelihood that the name Major Awich would come up would mean there is something bad. But if Awich continues doing good things for years, it would not possibly appear on the news. So I like to say that while the discussion go greater to the government, is that bad things create news. So the many days, Doctor, that you have not talked about government, those were the days of good news. So don't think that there's no government, as somebody alluded.
Major, let me
it
just,
is there.
since you have now,
I was taking notes when you were listening. So I just like to assure the viewers that the government is there, but I like to assure viewers that bad news, no news is good news, and anything bad makes news. So the days that things are silent are the days of the good news. Now, about the particular incident, I was on, a day before yesterday, I was in Kigali for the inauguration of President Kagame. The RPF, the party that won election, their flag bearer won election, called us NRM, and I went to the Secretary General to be with them. Now, we talked about, and this, it was not connected to this, but we talked about their garbage management. They are so smart in it. Kigali is a smaller city compared to Kampala. It's now catching up, by the way. But if a small city like that was poor in garbage management, it would be a disaster. But they're so smooth that it's not even an issue for them to talk about garbage management challenges. They really do what we think is still a theory. They really distill it, make use of it, and it's never in any heart of thinking that there's any problem of garbage challenge. They make use of it. It is goods for them, a product that comes immediately and instantly. So how I wish we would copy from our brothers. Instead, some people thought that we would have better precedent. Far from it, they are better. So we don't even need, for those who want to benchmark, don't even need to go to London or any other place. Just Kigali here would do. In fact, Kigali would be better because it is more near home, and it's a smaller place, but very perfect. Now, again, further to judge on government on this particular incident, I think we could also, if somebody was privy to the amount of resources government has put in there, it would absorb, because many people would say we have been able to do this because government does not put in resources. Now, if you look at the amount of resources government has put, including salaries of the so-called technical people, including the buying of the land that we have mentioned, and other things there, so much resources has been put in, because a direct blame on government would have been inability or omission of government not to put financial resources in this area. But I can assure you that if one open up, or if somebody checked in the budget line in this, government has done so much, and yet this is an area, and none of them has come up to actually say, oh, this omission or this inability to perform is because government denied us here and there. I think it was sometime a talk in town that the KCCA people have the best salary. And therefore, it is no excuse for a recruitment of the best placed people. And so, if resources are available by government, you could maybe fault government on supervisory role. And supervisory role is questionable. Now, there is also talk about criminal liability on this. Sarah is a lawyer. I am an advocate myself. I just like to share with viewers that criminal liability is not a vicarious liability, it's strict liability. And whoever will want to go for it would bear that in mind, that a criminal matters or criminal liability needs the person who did the omission or commission with a guilty mind, with a mens rea. And not only mens rea, but actus reus, meaning that his action or his omission must have caused this. So for those who are thinking on expedition fishing on criminal liability, I wish them well, but I just like to share with them that criminal liability is not vicarious liability. You don't do it on behalf of somebody. Somebody must be there. So if he's a complainant or he's a prosecutor, I wish him well. Now, on the person of Museveni, maybe, I haven't been told, Sarah said it here again and again, that he micromanages. But because the only way that you could import him here is if you expected him to micromanage. But as I said earlier, if government gives in place the relevant act, particularly the relevant resources, that these people don't run and say, we requested for this money in this financial year, it wasn't given, salary wasn't paid, we didn't buy land, we didn't get money for this machinery, and how do you expect us to give? In the absence of that, and by now it should have come out, I do not think that the import of Museveni should have come if you ever wanted a micromanagement, because it's Sarah here who has always been against micromanagement. Because in this case, it would mean the president actually micromanages the executive of KCCA, or even micromanages the garbage supervision itself, which I think is not practicable or practical in this case. Therefore, no doubt that death has occurred, and no doubt that it's a tragedy. But we call upon the government again. Of course, I have repeatedly said that the party that I sit at plot 10 is the principal and the agency is the government. And therefore, there is not going to be a blame of our agent when the principal is comfortable in plot 10. We definitely have to go back to the drawing board and see what needs to be done. But I repeat, no news is bad news. The rest that you have been hearing were good news. This incident is bad news. So in other words, it is one among the isolated. The competency of the prime ministers that was said, the prime minister is very competent, and the appointing authority considered all issues at hand. So no worry that isolated incidents has happened. So the government is in charge and the prime minister is competent, but issues that need to be addressed will remain to be addressed. And as we said at the party level, is that we actually now want a routine evaluation of manifesto implementation, because there's nothing in Uganda that is not catered anywhere under the manifesto, whether it is agriculture, health, city, urban, everything. Therefore, we could check and see, is there a gap? Is there a non-follow-up on this particular incident? Once again, I apologize and say sorry for those who have lost their loved ones, and condolences.
Well, thank you very much. For the next round of questions, I've listened keenly to all your submissions, and I mean, just the sheer scale of what happened is hard to comprehend. It is shocking. It is chilling. You just can't imagine when you try to put yourself in the shoes of the people of Kiteezi who got caught up in this disaster, in this tragedy. It is, well, I don't even have the words for it. But when you've been talking about the crisis of governance, Sarah, and the crisis of leadership, and also the widespread looting that actually bedevils this country and affects all sectors, and sadly leads to these kinds of tragedies that lead to loss of lives, I felt very unsettled, and I was asking myself one question: where is our conscience as a country? And does it even exist? Does such a thing even exist at all? Where are our values? Where's the soul of Uganda?
Thank you very much. The other day, I was reading a gentleman in Kenya who was talking about leadership. And he said, the problem with our leadership is that we bring village heroes to become leaders of government. We don't bring the right people. So we put square pegs in round holes. Now, I would like to say, we must admit when something is wrong. We cannot go and put grease around it and make it look neat. No. What happened is unfortunate. And when a lawyer really asks me whether there's criminal intent, when we were just saying that some land was sold and some lands were sold to the wrong people, that already is criminal. Yeah? When you say this should have been decommissioned in 2015, it is in writing, and some people continue to go ahead, that's criminal.
Yes, and criminal negligence.
We don't need even to think that you're a lawyer or bringing these Latin words which lawyers use. You know?
It's not necessary.
Let us talk. Government, by the way, government, yes, has some good things they're doing, but they are being outdone by bad things. The good things that government is doing are not being recognized anymore. In fact, it's the wrong things that seems to come out. In fact, when my friend said news, no, this is no longer news, it is breaking news. And bad news only comes out. When you talk about good people, they're there. They're the majority in government. But the small group, the minority that is controlling the whole thing is destroying the good things that have been done by government. My brother here was talking about the army engineering. Let me tell you the truth. Yes, they do have equipment, but civil engineering is a very wide subject. Their initial work, when they started, was during the war, they would come to support the army fighting, like making quick bridges where they can make quick roads where they could pass. And that is one form of civil engineering. It's an emergency. They've got another form of engineering, which is to build houses. They've got another form of civil engineering. Now, the engineering you're talking about, which is the search and rescue engineering, I don't know how far they have. I don't know how much they have in terms of search and rescue. Now, we are not blaming, but maybe this one will teach them to have a search and rescue department in engineering. And how big should it be? Search and rescue in this country, what is it? Let's look at the fire brigade alone for Kampala. Do we have really a fire brigade, or we have a contraption called fire brigade?
We have some truck with water.
Look at this building they are putting up, starting with the NSSF putting up something on Lumumba Road. Does that fire brigade we have the ability to go to the last one? Do they have a helicopter that can put water out? So when we talk about these things, we are not against any particular person. We are talking about the ability to do certain things and to put emphasis on certain issues. When my brother was talking about certain people, NRM has got a lot of very good people, but there are some callous people who have destroyed the party. And time has come for the major, who is an officer and a gentleman, to realize he's got some rogue members of NRM who are completely bad-mannered. And we will not stop saying, you're not giving us the right cadres. You used to give us right cadres, but you're not giving us right cadres. We will not stop saying it. And we will not stop pretending. What are we talking about? By the way, it's not politics, and I want you to get it. What you are talking about is not politics. No. Politics is management of society.
True.
That is politics.
True.
Are we managing society? Those guys who are doing those wrong things, are they really doing politics? No. They're doing something else. It's not politics. Politics is when you manage society and do the right things. And what is leadership? To have somebody who has got the attraction of the people who follows them. Even a cow, when they are going to drink water, there's a cow that goes ahead. That's the cow, that's the leader of those cows, when they're going to drink water. So we are talking about really the concept of leadership in this country. We have good leaders, yes, but where are they? They have sidelined them.
They've been overshadowed.
And they have sidelined them because they tell them the truth. These officers normally tell the truth. And he will tell you there are certain things they don't talk about, because if you say the truth, they remove one of your pips. So the whole idea, we are not against anybody. We are against the actions.
True.
We are against things that are being done. We're saying, what is wrong? How do you get somebody who's an executive director of NEMA, who should be virtually crying for what has happened in the environment, to come and tell us the basics that we all know? So I've got a, I'm sorry, my brother, the officer, there are some wrong things which have been done which have really ashamed us. This nation, I have been in this nation, I'm quite old, by the way. I've known this nation from independence time up to now. We've got very good people. We've got a fantastic country. We've got excellent leaders. But the leaders who are excellent are not given a chance to lead. So we need to sit down and say, what have we learned from the Kiteezi problem? I've given you everything. That Kiteezi problem, I saw it on international news and I closed my eyes. It is shaming. We shouldn't even give excuses. Anybody who tries to put flowers around it and try to say this, and you are not saying, let's admit, it's wrong. Those who are involved should be brought to book. What has been done, if it is corruption, let it be brought. We don't have all these big organizations, corruption here, corruption here. What are they doing? So by this time, some people should have been answering. Those things you are talking about, which are written down in black and white, people should answer. So, I am sorry, whilst I am, by the way, I did not support NRM, I supported the revolution. NRM came in 2005. I supported the revolution of the old people who were spoiling this country. And that revolution has been hijacked. These are parties you people are talking about. By the way, I don't believe in parties, me personally, as a person. So these parties you're talking about is not my problem. My problem, where has our revolution got? If we cannot answer a simple problem like Kiteezi tragedy. Admit we made a mistake. Admit, let's correct it. Baganda have a very nice saying, Enyana enume zikurabigo. Meaning you fall down, you stand up again. Yeah. You fall down. Now we have fallen down today. What are the solutions? And what examples should we make? Stop all this, bad news, good news. No. There are some, where are the good news? Going to rotate parliament is not good news. Anyway, the whole point is very, very simple. I'm not getting any good news from this government anymore. Not paying salary for 2 months, 3 months is not good news.
Borrowing money every day.
Right? So, to me, I think what we need to do, let's admit, things are going wrong. How do we put them right? And by the way, I want you to, it's not, NRM is a party. It's certain individuals in that NRM who are not good. Individuals in those in minority groups who are not good. It's not the parties that are wrong. It is some wrong characters. And you can't say the army is bad. No. There are some fantastic people in the army. Yeah. There are a few people who are bad. So let us get one point clear. We are not talking about personalities here. We are talking about something that has failed. And Kampala City Council has failed on roads, has failed on drainage, now, I want me to continue counting?
Please, no, stop.
Yes.
Has failed on planning, physical planning, has failed in the actual planning of the city.
Traffic.
Has failed on it's called road transport, has failed. Now, if you look at drainage, Kampala is on hills. Yeah. There has been a study by the World Bank on drainage. We have failed to implement it. So when you talk about garbage, it's one item. The city council, and today I was coming and saying, and keep people, politics, it's nothing to do with politics is management of society. Why don't you say we have failed to manage? It's nothing to do with the politics.
Captain,
yes.
I'm being told it's time to wrap up this session, and let's just go into a break, and then we'll come back. And
no, the others can go on. I just wanted to give you that. Yeah. It's very unfortunate.
Thank you.
Digital rights are those human rights and legal rights that allow individuals to access, use, create and publish digital media or to access and use computers, other electronic devices and telecommunication networks. Digital rights include a right to freedom of expression, information and communication through technology, a right to privacy and data protection, a right to credit for personal works, a right to universal and equal digital access, a right to identity, a right to anonymity, a right to be forgotten, and a right for protection of minors, among others. The state's digital rights are frequently violated through various unfair actions, for example, blockage of websites and social networks, theft of credentials, unauthorized use of people's data for personal gain, privacy intrusion, online censorship, arrests and intimidation of online users, internet blockages, and the proliferation of laws and regulations that undermine the potential of technology to drive social, economic, and political development worldwide. It is hence every citizen's responsibility to respect rights of other digital users and to speak out or report to the responsible parties when one's rights are violated.
Welcome back from the break. You're still tuned to Citizens Chat Show here on Civic Space TV. We're still continuing with our discussion about the Kiteezi Landfill disaster which occurred on Saturday. The death toll is now at 24 and counting. More than 1,000 people have been displaced and 3 villages affected. Before we went into the break, we were actually reflecting on a question I had posed earlier about the soul and conscience of this nation. And Captain, you were still continuing with that.
Let me aid you with that word.
Yes.
As Ugandans, let's forget about our differences. As Ugandans, the Kiteezi thing should make us wake up. It's a wake-up call. Can we, as all Ugandans, say, what went wrong? How right can we put it? How can we help our people? So we need a conscience. We need to be honest. You know, Baganda have a very nice word, abagunjufu. Abagunjufu are people who are clean, refined people.
Learned.
All of us here, we are not different. Let me tell you, all this nonsense people are pushing is nonsense. We are Ugandans, and I want somebody to use that Kiteezi to make a point that we can all rally together and prove to the world that we made a mistake and we are correcting it.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from you, Sarah.
Well, I think for me, it's a question of leadership. Afanda Awich talked about that we want the president to micromanage. A shift from Kampala Capital City to Kampala Capital City Authority under the KCCA Act of 2010 saw the government invoke powers under Section 5 to take over management of the city from the elected leaders. That's how they created the executive director and all other directors appointed by the president, and then the minister. Those things didn't happen before. So Kampala, management of Kampala is under central government. Right? Kampala Capital City Authority Act of 2020, amended in 2019. So I'm now bringing the legal jargons he was looking for. Also legally under criminal negligence, if you fail to act, because what creates a crime? It's either omission or commission. Crime is about those two things. Either you do something wrong or you fail to do what you are supposed to do. As simple as that. So the rest of going about circles is unnecessary when we are dealing with a catastrophe of about 80 children buried under rubbish that you cannot even pick out, and so many families. What is the structure of disaster management in this country? We have had, of course, that I would use the landslides. You can use Kasese flooding. You can use Mbare flooding. How has this government been responding to disaster throughout the years? And that's where the president comes in, that he has ready Uganda to become a failed state. Because what is the key function of government? Protect people and the territory. Keep law and order. Has he protected these people? You have a spillover and a slow collapse for 2 months. But when they say that the message is about to leave his home to greet a neighbor, you deploy all tanks and army and members to block the message. You have a land fear or whatever, collapsing for 2 months. You cannot check it. You cannot evacuate people. You cannot stop it. And we are dealing with unknown numbers of death. And you want us to sit here and say, President Museveni, thank you? Or he should resign. He should decommission himself. You pride of security. And for me, as we go for this wake-up call, people who like singing the rubbish of Tweba Katuro, I hope now they know that death can find you in your home, like the Kiteezi people. There is no security. If you cannot protect people, you cannot guarantee the welfare of citizens. You said that on 23rd July, we had young people attempting to march against corruption. You saw the deployment in Kampala. We were like Gaza Strip. All vehicles, even those of snipers on the road, waiting for young people who are saying corruption should stop. But you have Kiteezi. News broke out around past 7 a.m. in the morning. We were all watching TV in our homes. My imagination was, or if I was a leader, I would immediately organize all excavators in Kampala to go to Kiteezi, to remove rubbish and rescue people. All you need is to announce that whoever has an excavator on the road, please move. We have an officer stationed, maybe at the police station in Kiteezi. Reach there because you need maybe to sign in that you are going to work so that you are paid after. Register, go to a petrol station, AB, take fuel, come and pick people. I thought that in one day we would uncover that rubbish and remove people. But I can bet here that even by end of week, this failed government is going to announce that they are stopping the rescue process without uncovering all the rubbish. People are going not even to get a decent burial. That's how bad it is that this government cannot protect its people, cannot guarantee them a decent burial, even when they have died on the hands of their criminal negligence.
Let's come to you, Robert. But also going forward, Sarah, like you've hinted about physical planning. I also think as we continue with the discussion, I'd also like to hear the views of from each of you about how best we could actually manage our physical planning, and also what are some good practices when it comes to disaster management that we could actually pick from elsewhere. Because earlier, Captain, you were talking about lessons that we learn and how do we actually move from this point. So let's hear from you, Robert.
I don't know whether we shall learn, because when we go to the library in Makerere, let's just restrict ourselves to Africana, where dissertations are kept for students who do their study and document, then they staff them there. You will find that that area has been overstudied to an extent that it is done in environments, done in geography, it's done in natural sciences, done in social sciences, it's done in law, it's done everywhere. You will see titles with results and recommendations. Some of this information has even been disseminated to the ministries, to all government agencies, because these days it is a rule that when you are doing a research, you must show your dissemination processes. Just right now, there is a young man who is trying to calculate how much garbage is brought by foods from our villages, matoke, all the things that come here every day. And that dissertation is almost completed. And when you read, you are shocked. For example, we have 2,500 tons of garbage every day in Kampala. 2,500 tons. KCCA with its methods can only take out of Kampala 1,500. And that is a very, you are really squeezing. It may be lower than that. So you ask yourself, where does 1,500 go? So you find garbage, some on the street, some in the valley, some in what. And the planning people have known this all through. They have known that Kiteezi cannot accommodate the garbage from Kampala. And we are talking about the formal, the one which is formal. But there is garbage where somebody gets a sack and puts it somewhere in a bush. That one is not calculated. Do you want to say that they don't know? They know. I have told you that when Kiteezi was being put in place, there was a period that was supposed to be there. And after that, they were supposed to close it, decommission it. They went to Dundu. Now you can imagine this type of country. They buy land, 130 acres, more than 130 acres of land at 4.3 billion shillings. That land, they buy it before impact assessment has been done. So when they do the impact assessment, the government one passes. The locals say, what are you going to do here? They say, we are going to put rubbish here. They also commission their own impact assessment. They do, and it fails that you cannot bring garbage here. First of all, the distance from Kampala is 44 kilometers. So this garbage is going to travel for 44 kilometers. And wherever it passes, it is going to cause problems. That's problem number one. Problem number two, the garbage is going to pass people's residences and homes and trading centers and what have you. There is no road specifically for this garbage to come here. And they come up with the report. And the other day when the mayor tried to go there, found them already prepared with the MOP, with everybody, and they have said garbage cannot go there. And the way you know this country, that is going to die. That land, you don't know what will happen there. So he's planning there.
They would
I thought, like, for example, I'm a student of land and land management. In this country, we have so many types of land tenure. There is land that is for the Republic of Uganda, government of Uganda, under the Uganda Land Commission. There is land which is belonging to Kampala, which is under the Kampala Land Board. There's land for individuals, which is Milo, and so on and so forth. Sometimes I ask myself, things like garbage, why don't they go on public land, which is there, which is now being given to other people to develop and build hotels? For some of you who have been in Entebbe, when you look at the land in Entebbe, the Gold Coast up to the lake there, this wildlife center, all that land is supposed to be public land. How come they don't do public things there on that land? If they think that now people are tired of playing golf, why don't you decommission some of that land and give it to public use? Why should the government be buying land when they are leasing out land to other people to build hotels? There is a hotel owner in Kampala here who is specialized on building his hotels on public land. I may not mention because of liability. I don't want this TV to take.
There are two lawyers here.
Doctor's village in Murago.
to take liability.
The views here, your views.
So I want to say that Judith, you're asking us about planning. People every day sit and do what you would call planning, but these the plans are not implemented. For example, to do what Captain and Sarah was talking about, KCCA came up with a budget of 190 billion shillings so that they can process that garbage and recycle it and what have you, and requested government to start up a capital of 30 billion. But every time they budget, and now I'm answering Awich, every time KCCA budgets that 30 billion for startup, they say, yeah, it's a very nice thing, but it's unfunded priority. And I've many times told people that that unfunded priority thing disturbs English. Something cannot be a priority and not funded. So they should get another name. But unfunded priority. Now, what they do, they start these makeshift things. Like, for example, Sarah and colleagues, you need to find out how lucrative that garbage business is to individuals. The companies which deal in this garbage thing are very rich. For example, there was a company which was supposed just to make sure that this garbage, when it releases water, this water does not disturb the people. Every day, they are paid 2.5 million shillings, calculated by 30.
With a dead grade.
Calculate by 30 and a whole year.
There is a dead grader in Kiteezi.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is paid 2.6 million. But its work, its function is supposed to
keep the
press
thing,
back
To
the
compact
garbage
the
thing so that it does not
compress.
fall on.
They put soil, then they compress it.
Yes, but it does nothing and it's dead and they keep
It
paying.
is there, but they keep
That's
paying.
also
They
criminal
keep paying.
negligence.
They keep
You are looking
paying.
for ingredients.
And everybody knows, the Minister of Kampala knows, all these, there is no way intelligence can miss that information. So we don't want to say that they don't know. But finally, I think a garbage issue. Why I still want what Captain is telling me that I should not talk about corruption, but that's the one I know. So when you call it looting, stealing, but what I mean is that corruption. Those are the people who cannot allow anything to take place. And this corruption is the unfortunate thing. Major which will have to bear with me. The center is State House. Because that's where it is negotiated. Because these companies, if you are not attached to the State House somehow, you will not get. You will not get. Yeah. And they even tell you that you find people lining up the president's office. They want to see the president. What do you want? Jagala katenda. Katenda.
So they clearing out.
Yeah, they have to go and be cleared there. And they get it. They deceive people that they have announced and what have you. But you must, and the president comes in many times, I have heard him myself, and says, we gave this person this thing because he's our friend. Yeah. He's our friend, he supported us, or and yet we are saying we are giving these tenders on ability to do the work, on competency. But the president tells you, that one is our friend. This Rocco, they were our friend. They were our friends during the Liberation War. So Rocco gets a contract because they are their friends. It's not the best bidder. So the trouble we have in the country, and I want to agree with the people who spoke first, that one of the major problem is the leadership problem. Because these things, if you don't have good leadership at KCCA, you are not going to plan and implement. If you don't have good leadership at the Ministry of Kampala, if you don't have good leadership, for example, we are arguing about garbage management in Kampala. What about in other towns? Are they doing better so that we say that this is a Kampala problem? Is Mbarara doing better, or Gulu, or wherever? When you go there, you just see the same problem, only that here the magnitude is because of the population. The population of the people here. So at the end of the day, I really think that to go into pain on what is going to happen to get out of this Kiteezi, we should just prepare ourselves for more Kiteezis.
Yes, I like to say that the tragedy that has happened would really ideally demand us to discuss technical matters of confidence. But when I find the tone takes a political tone, like a failed state, like the incompetence of President Museveni, like he should resign, it boxes me automatically to a political angle. And therefore, I find myself discussing political matters rather than the technical thing that surrounds garbage, that the management, the resources there too. So, when I take a political tone, I'm more of a reaction. I am not being proactive. I'm not offensive. I am defensive in raising a political tone. because I am boxed into an economy. And of course, when it comes to political, that is why Honorable Babu, we mentioned in the bad things, talks about the regional parliament. Personally, I think my position on regional parliament was known here the other day. I even said I wouldn't be surprised that if some member of the executive comes up and says what the what the legislature did was wrong or is doing is wrong. Because a friend of mine was telling me that the regional parliament was in the budget. I told him, no. You mean anything that is in the budget is wrong? Because in the womb there, it was corrupt budget. Because we have known situations where in the budget, someone puts a bottle of water at 5,000. That in itself corruption. So that when it comes to the execution of the budget, it tells you, yes, a bottle of water is 5,000.
And it was budgeted.
It was budgeted. So should we therefore say, by me appearing in the budget, it is wrong? I told him that you can only judge the regional parliament by laying fears that nobody is gaining personal income. For example, are the members of parliament going to sit out of parliament and get allowance as working out of station? Because if they are going to get allowance as working out of station, then somebody has just created that for purposes of allowance. 2, how about service delivery? Is the cost of taking people that could cost ordinarily 400,000 for the fuel going to be put at 800? And other service delivery there too. So this is the context that we should. So my friend was saying it is in the budget. I said no. Being in the budget, in itself, there's a womb. In the womb, it is conceived a baby with corruption. So not appearing. So as for rotational parliament, I had made my position and I still keep taking it. That it is, I wouldn't be surprised if a member of the executive at some point said, no, the legislature, much as the independent, we didn't really concur with that. So I'm saying political tone is more of a defense for me because I'm boxing the corner. Now, at the beginning here, I used many words. I used apology, I used condolence, I even used the word tragedy. So I do not see any further call for greasing our hands over what has happened. I think for concurrence, we concurred it's a bad thing and it shouldn't have happened. So there's no greasing here. Possibly, one thing I would like to concur with Sarah, which I rarely do in this debate, is that really somebody should have lost a job. Because no amount of defense will be raised at this stage. At least somebody near us should have lost a job, would have been reprimanded, either by way of suspension or something. Then let that person come to explain that this happened because you didn't give me the money, you didn't do what you did, whatever it is. But I think by now, in other jurisdictions, a reprimand would have taken place. A reprimand should have come at some leadership, at some cadreship level, whether the director or the executive director or something should have happened now. And I see like no action is taken unless, so that is one thing I would like to concur with Sarah, and yet I rarely concur with her on this forum. We concur outside this forum, only among others in that I'm from Intare schools, she's from Baranyani, so we have the Barantare. Hey. But yes, honorable, it is true. And that happens, that now makes me come to your point that you supported the revolution, but not, I don't know the word you use, I mean, maybe not the current.
Not these parties, not these parties. It's a revolution of the country.
I do. For your information, honorable, the entire that I'm mentioning, we went back as NRA Kadogo. I already participated in the revolution. By senior 1, I was a second lieutenant. By senior 5, I was a lieutenant. I came to Makere, did the law, and not only got a degree in Makere law, but a captain.
You were a son.
So you were a child soldier?
He's a child. He's a child of the revolution.
Yes. So many things have happened during the referendum.
Sorry.
Some of us supported NRM. The movement, and the view was that You see, when you go multi-party, many things come. One, if you contest, if you're a civil servant, don't come back. Two, during the movement that Honorable was, a censor of a minister, you could draw a consensus and everybody would censor because we are one. But right now, if a minister in government walks from City Square to Parliament naked, would say it is the opposition who bewitched him. And that's why some of us who stood during the referendum for movement, we were defeated. But the only victory we managed was to put in the constitution that a movement system exists. Only that when a political system is in place, the other one is in abeyance. So, Honorable, I'd like to assure you that I share some of your sentiments because we have been there, we participated, and here we are. Now, this now brings me to Sarah's position.
So that is a revolution corner.
Yeah. Now we are talking.
Sarah was in Werenyanje when I was in Uganda.
She was also in the revolution. You can see.
The revolution is coming. I hope it doesn't reach
All of our girls in Werenyanje.
All those girls were in revolution. She's still in revolution.
Yes, for democracy. For democracy in Uganda.
Although we were 9 in Itare because of the intake of admission, but other schools like on the high school had 43, in Ghana they had like 200. There are many schools depending on the intake. Therefore, it brings me now, Sarah, to the issue of a failed state. I think that is an overshooting. As I told you, no news is very bad news. The thing is, Sarah, since NRM came to power, not only do you are talking of failed state, but we are talking of collapsed countries. I've told you that we found Yugoslavia with Tito. When Tito left, or thereabout, Yugoslavia broke into pieces until at one time in the World Cup there was a Serbia and Montenegro. In the middle of quarter qualification, it broke into 2. We told them now if you win a cup, where will you take it? Sudan has broken. Somalia has broken. Libya is in crisis. These countries won. And therefore, I gave you even a raw example to show you that it is not a failed state. The rawest example that I know discomforts you is that there's a yellow bicycle everywhere.
Oh,
where?
At LC1, because if it was a failed state, the so-called party in power cannot write that, they would have been cut into pieces.
My village does not have one.
It has.
No, it doesn't.
Because, take for example,
in Werenyanje they are there.
Take for example, during Kony War, would you put on Museveni's t-shirt in the villages in Acholi? No, Kony would kill you. But the fact that you have yellow bicycles everywhere in this country shows to you it is not a failed state. We have challenges that we must tackle. The issue of corruption, I've concurred with you here many times. Therefore, this tragedy is a tragedy. Corruption is part of it. It must be fought. There's no doubt about it.
No. All right.
Thank you very much. Captain, you wanted to say something?
No, it's very, very simple, really. At the end of the day, I think it's been a very nice conversation. By the way, nowadays, I like the word conversation. I've enjoyed it because you talk, you give your views. I like to end by saying this. I think Ugandans have to wake up to an occasion where they should put things right and they should stop blaming each other. We should try and find solutions to our problems. And I want to tell my brother here, sometimes when you tell these people this is a failed state, this is this, maybe they wake up. It's like ringing a bell. Maybe when you say it, somebody says, why are they saying we're a failed state? Maybe it wakes them up. It is not, we know what a definition of a failed state is. But when you say it is failed because things are not working, maybe somebody says, maybe we should not allow this thing to continue. So I'd like us to live here today. You are asking, what can we do to overcome this problem? For example, what we're talking about here actually is a simple word, search and rescue. Search and rescue is very wide. A lot of people have never realized it. But in our ministry, in the Prime Minister's Office of Disaster Preparedness, search and rescue would be a very big part of government. In the olden days when I was young, it was with public works, PWDs. They used to do that. Now, the question is, can we now develop that, go back to square one and say, how should our search and rescue look like? A search and rescue is not small. It's got all those caterpillars you saw. It's got vehicles. It's got aeroplanes. It's got trucks. It's got places where they keep food for those who are in disaster problem. So it's search and rescue is so big. So we need experts. We don't need village heroes. We need real experts to come and set this thing up so that when we have a situation like that, we can be able to galvanize our people and we help the people who are in trouble. And that goes also for the disasters that happen on mountains because people have over lumbered. They've removed all the trees. We have also this for the rivers. I want to tell you, there's a town in East Africa here. In the next few years, they will not have drinking water because all the water which is near that town is being contaminated. So we need to wake up on an environment. It's a very big thing. So in this particular case, we need a real search and rescue that can help this country when we have disaster like the one of Kiteezi.
Thank you. Major, I'll go back to you. I think 2 weeks ago, when we were talking about the peaceful demonstrators and their arrests and basically the response from the president about the intelligence he had received that there were very bad things, in his words, that these young people were involved in and those bad things would come to light. And now we have a situation in Kiteezi where we are seeing this memorandum from the Directorate of Public Health and Environment to the ED and the Deputy ED, giving them an alert of what is likely to happen if Kiteezi is not prioritized or addressed. I understand the president's intelligence gathering. He has his ears everywhere. If this is something that was of priority to him or the people in his office, I would assume action would have been taken. Now, if we are prioritizing clamping down on peaceful demonstrators instead of prioritizing something that we already see the science and the technical people tell us this is actually this is a disaster in waiting. How satisfied are you with the way the government actually runs and responds to problems and how it prioritizes the needs or problems of Ugandans?
Okay, first I want to say something about what Honorable Babu has said about a town without water. I don't know which one he says he didn't want to mention, but he says that one is for contamination. But I also know for a fact that there are 2 towns which don't have water now. Mbara, for example. The case of Mbara, the facts that I got was that the discipline on wetland management disturbed the upstream source of water that would flow into where it was being pumped in Mbara, either Louise or something. So that water stopped coming. And therefore now, Mbara there's a project to get water for very long distance. From which lake?
Lake Victoria.
Lake Victoria for a long
Yeah.
distance.
Yes.
Lake
Long
Vic.
distance. Otherwise, Mbara.
And you think that's not a failed
so
state?
that is it.
Do you know?
Now,
Do you know where River Kagera is?
I know, yes.
Yeah, the nearest point of Lake Victoria is just before River Kagera.
So that Mbara is now getting water from distance.
Failed
Also,
state.
Gulu,
Koroza home, eh?
Gulu, the original Gulu was supposed to be in Para. That's what the Bazungu had put it. But the Bazungu wanted it for wildlife, so they shifted it there. So the planning was in a hurry. So the current water for Gulu is not there also. Now, when you pass along Gulu, Kampala Road, you see those pipes. Now, Gulu is equally getting from River Nile. So
that's around Omoro, I think.
Come again.
It's Omoro, the neighboring districts, right?
No, from Karuma, from
Karuma.
Konakandini.
Ah.
You see the pipes right from Karuma here.
Huge pipes.
Pipes from all through Konakandini going to Gulu. And that was because of so part of this is our indiscipline, like the case of Mbara, as they say. I don't know whether it is the same town about...
Now the training is coming in. He's using the word discipline correctly.
Yes. So now, that one, I wanted to share that. And that is a wake-up call for those of us who have been talking about environment, because you end up having a city without water. and it becomes extremely expensive. It will cost a World Bank fortune to bring water, and it is now work in progress. Anyway,
Just for your information, it is Nairobi. In the next few years, they won't have water.
they won't have.
And the lakes which are nearer are salt.
Yeah.
For good.
Naivasha is salt, the others are not.
Hell of the money. They don't remember the salt water is not like Lake Victoria. Now, back to your question. You brought in intelligence. Ideally, intelligence is supposed to encompass total safety. In other words, you should have security for food. Intelligence should capture food security. Intelligence should capture health intelligence.
Human security.
Should capture everything. So I wouldn't therefore say the memo that passed should have caught the attention of intelligence, because intelligence is wide, and as long as something threatens human health and human life, that is insecurity. Whether food or intelligence should be able to tell the president that in Karamoja at this time there's going to be no food. So that would be intelligence. So, and therefore, if that memo was got and it didn't catch the attention of the chief consumer of intelligence, who is the president, then that is unfortunate. Then that is a lapse. And therefore, that still brings me to the other point, that in other jurisdictions, by now somebody would have been reprimanded. And it's unfortunate that we don't see a reprimand as if we are working in a vacuum. Somebody should have been reprimanded either by way of interdiction, by way of suspension, whatever you call it, or by way of losing a job. So I like to concur with you that that intelligence should have reached the chief consumer, because intelligence ideally is supposed to protect life and property of everybody, whether it's food security or otherwise. Therefore, if you ask in relation to the priority that government takes priority in securing lives of people and property and the well-being of the people. And these lapses, once again, is a wake-up call.
Sorry, you wanted to respond.
No, but I just want to tell you something.
Yes.
A lot of you are naive.
For sure.
And I tell you why you are naive. You have something called security here, and you have something called demonstration stroke human rights. Are you with me? Now, government looks at both of them. Right on the other side, Kenya is having problems, the timing. And suddenly, human rights wants to do what Kenya is doing. This person here, called security, can do two things. Can allow it to go on, or can abort it. And you have seen this security abort that kind of thing before. When a man called Chagulanyi came to the airport and said he wanted to demonstrate to go to State House, what did they do? Put him in the car and took him to his house. They aborted.
And it's safely at all.
And it aborted the problem. You're having these young people who want to come and go to parliament. They started 2 days before. By the time the guys came together, they were no longer together. They had already dismantled them. What you got was a small remnant of a few people. This security group, their job is to ensure that they don't have a bigger problem on their hands. And a lot of you are so naive, you think security will sit there and wait for you to do what you want. Or maybe security should bring a red carpet so that you can walk into parliament. It will not do it. Security is trained to make sure it stops all those things that can happen to the state. Once you've got that in mind, then you sit down and say to yourself, it's not government anymore. It's now a different ball game. Security, human rights, government, Kenya, Nigeria, Bangladesh. You think this security is going to allow you so that you behave like the other three? I think time has come for you to wake up. All of you. Stop being naive. This is government. And they are going to use their strongest arm to make sure these things don't happen. Now, to go back, is it right or wrong? And that's a different argument.
Yes, that's where I wanted us to go.
I was giving you, no, I'm being brutally, honest with you guys. So, Captain Babu and my friend here, we want to be human rights. We want to modern democracy. Yes, it is good. But not when this man here is saying, no, don't play around with the security of the country. And already he has got more problem on his plates. And you want to add on more? So to go back to good governance, which a lot of people talk about, to liberal democracy, to human rights, you've got to have everything going well before you can have this one. Security has to be perfect before you can have human rights. So the whole argument now comes back. Do we have the conditions? Do we have the environment to have what people want? The answer is no. We don't. So you can sit there and harm Western media and harm television and harm everybody. This guy said, no, but for us, we're in control. He did not succeed.
Well, the question of Kiteezi is equally a human rights question.
Yes.
To a large extent.
Correct.
Yes. And
but it's not harmful to the security.
But so, and that shows us where their priorities now are.
No.
So would you rather have people dying because they're not threatening you?
No. It's wrong. I'm not saying it's right. Please don't get me wrong. The Kiteezi thing, everybody can even come out and sack people and do whatever. But that one is not a problem.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. They're going to do what you want. But the other one,
Yes. I hope you understand him.
I do understand Captain Babu's point of view. I was glad that finally Awich shared more evidence of the failed leadership. Because if you have Mbarara becoming a desert under this leadership, or any leadership for that matter.
Is Coca-Cola company still there, by the way?
It must.
Well, I don't know.
It's nearly closed because of that water.
Yeah, but I think its operations are affected. Okay. So you have Mbarara, which is part of the bigger western catchment area, becoming a desert. That's how a failed state looks like. When you fail.
Those lakes which are in Bushenyi.
Yes, Lake Imburo, Lake what?
Are they salt or are they?
No, they are fresh water.
Fresh water. River Rizi, all those contributory grounds of fresh water, they've dried them out because of their carelessness. So what is good governance? Good governance means have the security you people are talking about, protect the nation,
yes,
territorial integrity of the country and the people. You should ensure people are safe in their homes. We have had several attacks of face and arrest. You should ensure people have food. We have had Karamoja and other areas dying of hunger. You should ensure you protect the environment. Mabera Forest is
paying the security people.
Yes.
Paying them money.
Yes, Mabera Forest, the biggest tropical forest in Africa, is transparent from the highway. You have eaten all the timber there through smuggling. Look at the water Lake Victoria, over flooding because of encroachment, distortion. How are you managing the country? Managing the country does not mean bulldozing vehicles on the streets to kill people who oppose you. It's a failed state.
Yeah, Judith, the problem with the many Ugandans is that our memory has issues. Just 2 years ago, Tonga Bridge collapsed. And there was a huge crisis on the Western Corridor. People had to pass Zimbabwe, where. So they put an emergency of some makeshift bridge so that they came up with a very good design of a bridge that is going to be constructed in that place. As I talk, it is coming to more than 2 years. We are passing on, how they call that thing, that huge metallic thing. We are passing on a metallic thing. They put a makeshift thing with a plate. They call it something, the real name. On a plate, and we are passing there every day. Even the buses have started using that road. They are passing on that, on that huge plate. Very soon when it collapses, we are going to go to TVs and radios and start complaining. Oh, you see, now this is very bad. I think somebody, but we are seeing the thing is a disaster. Recently, I was passing on that thing. By good luck, I was not the one driving. So I had the ability to watch. I looked at that thing and I said, this is dangerous. This bridge is dangerous. Anytime it is going to give way, and we shall have a disaster there. Namwamba River. This thing has, now I don't know how many times, more than 10. But every time it comes, it leaves very many dead and displaced. And you find the ministers there saying a lot of things and other disease. And when the river comes down, we go back and sleep. Very soon you are going to see, if the rain continues in Bududa, very soon you are going to get news from Bududa.
Floods in Kasese.
Because they are already signs that they are going
they've
to
already
fall.
started.
So for me,
How are you managing
when you start being optimistic, that okay, we shall sit down and organize these things. I don't see that capacity. I don't see that capacity. For example, in Kampala, the number of people is increasing every time. Because for us who work in higher institutions of learning, every 10 young people who come to Kampala, 8 do not go back. They don't go back to wherever they have come from because the conditions elsewhere there does not support their type of education, the education that they have gotten here. So even if you appoint him a district cow of Amuru or a district cow of Kotido, that young man is going to go to Kotido, work there for 3 days, but he has a house in Kiteezi. In Kiteezi.
Yeah.
So that is something, if people were really thinking, we would now have centralized homes for people to stay in. So people are just going anywhere. You can stay, you build there, some small thing, you start staying. For us who teach history, during Amin's time, and this is where I find problems with our history. Sometimes when people banish Amin and say Amin was a very bogus man, Amin was the only president in Uganda who was constructing estates in this place. After the colonialists.
Let me say something small. He also did rapid response to evacuate when Mahavira erupted.
After the colonialists, he constructed Bugolobi, he constructed Bukoto, and many of these things. This illiterate character, P4 and a horror, he was the only one. Today in 2024, we don't have any government plan to construct houses where people can stay, where young people who have finished university can go and get mortgage, or if they are placed as doctors, they can go and stay there. We don't have anything. In fact, whatever was left by these other people, we are concentrating on selling them and looting them, stealing them. And you say, oh, you say we are doing very well. You see, news is just news, bad news. Please save us. So, Kiteezi, first of all, we don't want to blame the disaster only. The disaster is bigger than, as Captain Babu talked about it. It is a combination of things. People don't have where to stay. There is no proper land management. There is no estate management. There is nothing. People construct houses. Each one here has constructed a house. And if you are not lucky, and your house get completed without collapsing, their houses are bound to collapse. You go to the plan, like for me, I stay in Ichira. You go, you get a plan, you start constructing a house. Nobody will ever come to check on that house until it is complete. People just call you. Now we ku site. You send me something. You say, who are you? A town planner. What type of man is this? So for me, I really think that, yes, we are doing, the only thing we are doing very well in this country is managing the army and moving it around.
Protect power.
But to protect power. But supporting people's life, people are on their own. People are on their own. For example, where do you get a country where the building is not planned? the construction in the town is not planned. Everybody builds what he wants. Here there is a church, here there is a hospital, the other time there is a petrol station, like petrol stations.
If they
How on earth do you have petrol stations in residential areas? What is a petrol station doing in a residential area? In areas of Chireka, Tinda here. Now, if one time they catch fire, will we again say, oh, you see, the country government has been working well, it has just something that has gone bad. It's a disaster waiting. For example, for those who read the rebellion in South America, like some of us who read rebellions and this guerrilla war in South America, Uganda, you can start a huge thing here. That's why I normally tell people that Ugandans are just good people. They don't want to cause harm. Then they say, our intelligence is hard. Which intelligence is hard? When petrol stations are a distance of not even a kilometer, even me who has not studied military science, I can cause a lot of havoc. I'm not threatening any. I am not threatening any havoc. And you burn this city in a few minutes because their petrol stations are just 200 meters from one another, and they have huge tanks of fuel. You don't find anybody. If some of you and the ones who are older than us, like Captain Babu, where fuel is kept is supposed to be under government control and charge. Again, this people abuse is the one who built the biggest fuel reserves in Jinja. Somebody brings a lot of fuel. I normally look at those liters. Very many metric liters, and puts them there.
Underground.
And the guy who is guarding that place has a rungu. He's not trained in any security thing. They just get him, give him a black attire, and they say, Askari, Atari, be careful, that place. So we need to be very careful when we are discussing these things. And we are not blaming anyone, but we are just saying that we are just living on the mercy of God. If things went wrong, we can all burn in this city and there will be no rescue. You can imagine we don't have ambulance system. We don't have, people, I normally see when people get accidents, for some of you, that when somebody gets an accident, it's supposed to be put in an ambulance to be taken in the hospital. For us, we are put on border. And I normally laugh at people. One time, this is the one I'm ending with. There was a very rich tycoon called Bongoka. Now, this Bongoka man, that man who was a witness in Chinji's case, he goes to Kyambogo to get Kyambogo to get a driving permit. Now, when he reaches Kyambogo, I think something came in my mind. Why don't I leave my vehicle being washed at the petrol station? At the washing bay here, so that I cross. The man was very smart. The way you can see a major there. He tries to cross the road, and the border man knocks him dead. So I was the first person to reach there, and people were ransacking him. So for me, I was interested in his wallet. When I checked, it was a very powerful person. So a pickup came and put him on the pickup. And I said, oh, this man is going to die. And indeed he died because he was bleeding. They are putting him in a pickup under that pickup. I just knew this one was going to die. Police. I just knew this one is going to die. So all of us, we are not safe. We don't have any rescue. This is talking about rapid response. We don't have any rescue vans on our roads here. If anything happened, it is the borders to help you. So what happened to General Katumba?
General. Border rescue.
So just as we wind up, I just want us to reflect on two things in the news. The Observer has this front page about the Kiteezi disaster and says Kampala is in urgent garbage crisis. We basically have nowhere to dump our garbage.
Yes,
and Sarah was just showing me this news on this update on the NTV Twitter handle. There are lots of garbage trucks, actually. There's a picture here, if you can go on the page. They are stuck. Entebbe has refused. Like, yes. You're not going to dump garbage here. Yeah. Now, just imagine the kind of mess and crisis we are facing. And we're talking about security issues. Already there's anger about what's happening in Kiteezi.
Go and
Now
pour
people are
it in
sitting
Lake
with
Victoria.
garbage in markets, in schools, at homes. Don't you see that this could actually spill into a disaster, even a security problem? I mean, if government thought protests about corruption was a problem, don't you see that this could actually be a rallying point for Ugandans to actually go to the streets or something, if that they actually get enough outrage and it is sustained?
The army will kill them.
No matter what you say, this is the time to see men out of boys. We now, forget about demonstration, whatnot. We need serious people now. And my sister made it very clear. The buck stops at the president.
Yeah.
The president has to come out now, whether he likes it or not. And he, you know, you've been saying that, well, I'm sorry, my brother, you were saying that the president doesn't micromanage, but he does. Borders goes his place, market people go to his place. I don't know, businessmen go to...
Give money to Roko, to go attack. Oh,
so,
that is
as far as I'm
micromanaging.
concerned, there is a lot of that. At this particular, let's forget about all those things. The president has to come out, get a small group of people who are serious and get this thing done. Now, the people where they have bought land, they could ask them temporarily to use it for some time so that we can get rid of those trucks and use it, maybe give us 1 month. Let's use this place, but we shall do it in the correct way. And in that 1 month, we should get people to come out with a big program on the whole garbage management of this city and Entebbe and all our cities in this country. But we need serious people. We don't want village heroes.
Professionals.
It is village heroes who come from Weranyanje.
These are very modern schools.
So we need the real serious people. By the way, I mean this. We have people who can do this thing. I'm serious. If you give me a competent group of people, within 1 month, would have it on the table.
Thank you, Captain. Major, we're winding up, basically.
We're winding up. It's unfortunate. I had some comments to make. For example, the issue of failed state came up again. I thought we had sorted it. The definition of a failed state is that the government does not have ability to exercise authority over its people and also protect the territory, which is not the case. Here, the courts are functioning in any G1 court in Uganda. A grade 1 magistrate court is functioning. Parliament...
General, can I say something? Do you know an English word called psych? They are psyching you. They are not saying it is actually a failed state. They are saying you are a failed state, so you can answer.
Okay, that is it. So actually I was about to say, the issues that are of concern to Sarah, she maybe should look for another word, not a failed state. But otherwise, that's the other thing I wanted to comment is, doctor says that we shouldn't be optimistic. So according to doctor, we should be pessimistic. Are you saying that the mandate given by the people for the 5 years, we should pack up and abandon the mandate? Then that will be a betrayal to the people. But please, let us be optimistic. Therefore, in conclusion, I just like to say, we're concluding, right?
Yes, yes.
I just like to conclude and emphasize that what has happened now, what has taken place in Kiteezi is unfortunate. It is wrong, shouldn't have happened, and somebody should take responsibility. And we are sorry for the condolence to the people who lost loved ones. And it is a wake-up. But that is not to say the entire government system is bad. Museveni is still competent and raising up very serious matters. And that is why I end up by saying no news is good news. So many things are happening, but there's many good things are happening, but they are silent. But one is a wake-up. And we cannot say because it is only one. We must give the due seriousness and the attention it deserves. And I believe it will. Final on this, for acquisition of land, the Constitution provides that government has the power to acquire land anywhere in public interest. I don't even see this. This must have a pecuniary interest. These contracts, buying land, negotiating here and there, the Constitution provides that should government want any place in public interest, it can acquire and give adequate compensation. So I believe those who have been running around for procurement as pecuniary interest. So they have slept on the constitutional provision.
Thank you. Sarah?
I think for me, the president should stop surrounding himself with cheerleaders and jokers. This country needs leadership, and he's not offering it. If he's exhausted, we would understand. And he can throw in a towel. Appointing people who sit in offices and do nothing, risking the lives of innocent Ugandans, is not going to work.
Thank you very much. Robert?
Yeah, you know, Major is telling me that I should be optimistic, and he's just praying that I become a fool, so that I start imagining things which are not real there. Until we get doing things in a professional way, we let the technical people do technical work, so that we don't make everything to be a business for, in fact, petty business for people. We are bound to get more disaster. But I think for now, we need to focus and push maybe government to do something and get out people. Because you see, like even the minister for disaster went there and rain almost killed her from that place. They go there, they don't have anything, there is no tent in the place. If Red Cross had not taken a tent, where would they be, those
They
guys?
are disaster themselves.
So I don't think they have what it takes to do the work they purport to do. So the Prime Minister's office should do better. They should have some bare minimum things to do. Like the Prime Minister was saying that she has 3 children in her house. This is the leader of government business. They have not planned anything that when you get a child who does not have parent, where do you take them? That she has children 3. So today she was promising that she will go and talk to those child experts to see what to do. Can you imagine? Really in a country, and the Major wants me to be optimistic. No.
Thank you very much. We have to go. Thank you very much, Dr. Robert Ojambo, Dr. Sarah Bireete, Captain Francis Babu, and Major Retired Awich Pollar, for making time and for giving your insights on this issue of the Kiteezi disaster, which is still unfolding. I mean, in terms of the number of the dead. We send our hearts go out to the families of the bereaved, and we just pray that they find the courage to go through this difficult time, and also hope the government and the stakeholders involved do their very best. My name is Judith Atim. We'll be back next week for another edition of the Citizens Chat Show here on Civic Space TV. Have yourselves a wonderful day.